Laughing at billionaires, it's a wonderful pastime.
All right, thank you so much for joining me for Laughing at Billionaires, where we start to get to understand the billionaire universe and how it's all an interconnected little tiny village of assholes. As you know, it's impossible to become a billionaire without being a piece of shit. You couldn't need that much money and be okay with yourself. I'm sorry. You're deeply lacking if you're a billionaire. It says, I'm not okay with the world or with myself. I am so myopic and self-focused that I believe that I have the answers to everything. And boy, do we have a bunch of billionaires this week in just a few news stories before we get to our main guy that are depressing. Let's start with the one that's the most happy, I would say, which is basically a Carnegie Mellon professor. Hope had some not so kind things to talk about Queen Elizabeth II's death. So the professor of Pittsburgh's Carnegie Mellon, Uju Anya, tweeted, I heard the chief monarch of a thieving, raping, genocidal empire is finally dying. May her pain be excruciating. So, yes. And then Carnegie Mellon posted that we do not condone the offensive and objectionable messages posted by Uju Anya on her personal social media account. Free expression is core to the mission of higher education. However, the views she shared absolutely do not represent the values of the institution, nor the standards of discourse we seek to foster. You might wonder, well, why do they care so much about what she says about that? Well, she got quote tweeted by billionaire Jeff Bezos, and Amazon has donated $2 million to Carnegie Mellon, and his chief financial officer is Brian Oslavsky, who is an alum of the university. So fun times. And then, so this is what Jeff Bezos at least said, is this is someone supposedly working to make the world better? I don't think so. Wow. And Uju Anya said, may everyone you and your merciless greed have harmed in this world remember you as fondly as I remember my colonizers. Now, a little context from Uju Anya. She says, if anyone expects me to express anything but disdain for the monarch who supervised a government that sponsored the genocide that massacred and displaced half my family, and the consequences of which those alive today are still trying to overcome, you can keep wishing upon a star. So it seems like her anger is fairly righteous. Anyway, it's always interesting how money influences things and who gets caught up in that. The things we can and can't say about powerful people that we can say easily about people that have less power and influence. Anyway, another depressing story. I have so many stories. The links will be in the description. These are just excerpts from them. So this is a Motherboard article by Edward Ongweso, who whose tweets I like, whose articles I like. He's a good person to follow. Anyway, he's reporting on Michael Saylor, who is a Bitcoin billionaire, and Washington, D.C. is suing him for allegedly evading $25 million in taxes by pretending to live in Florida, which is depressing for him. Basically, the lawsuit alleges that the Bitcoin boosting billionaire Michael Saylor engaged in a scheme to dodge taxes and that his company, MicroStrategy, played a key role. The D.C. AG alleges that Saylor hasn't paid any income taxes to the district since he started living there in 2005, avoiding at least $25 million in taxes. So this is kind of a cool thing. The lawsuit is happening because of a recently passed law called the False Claims Act, which empowers whistleblowers to come forward about alleged fraud against the government, and a whistleblowing realtor that came forward to claim Saylor failed to pay income taxes. So under the law, the whistleblower can be awarded up to 30% of the funds collected. And in that complaint, the whistleblower realtor Tributerin said, arguably the wealthiest person in the district, Ford estimates his net worth at $2.3 billion. Who cares? He has never paid a dime in district income taxes. This Michael Saylor has also been caught up in fraud before, according to Michael Silverman at the New Republic. Saylor was accused of fraud in 2000 along with other MicroStrategy executives, and he helped had to help pay $10 million to settle without admitting wrongdoing. I mean, they never have to admit wrongdoing. Another billionaire thing that came up that isn't necessarily billionaires, but it's related to Shell Oil, is that in Nigeria, there's supposed to be this huge, beautiful cleanup, and it's supposed to cost $1 billion. However, what's been shown is that nothing is getting cleaned up. So the fun part is, when the $1 billion Ogoniland cleanup began in 2019, backed by Shell's funding pledge and support from the United Nations, it was heralded as the most ambitious initiative of its kind anywhere in the world. But now the UN Environmental Program documents seen by Bloomberg, this is reported by Bloomberg and reported for the first time, indicate that the project, far from being exemplary, is making one of the Earth's most polluted regions even dirtier. So they're spending $1 billion to make the area dirtier. And I think this is always important to remember. A bunch of money does not guarantee a good outcome. You need to have a good plan and good implementation. A blank check doesn't mean anything if you don't have programs and policies that will make sure that the money is spent in a planned and well thought out way with the right partners, or it'll just go to nothing. We've seen this with housing in Los Angeles. If you don't have a place that can buy with $100 million, well, then you're not going to build anything. So in a scathing review of the Ogoniland cleanup efforts led by the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, or HYPERO, the UN body paints a picture of rampant mismanagement, incompetence, waste, and lack of transparency. It highlights the haphazard storage of oil-soaked soil that lets chemicals seep into uncontaminated grounds and creeks, contracts awarded to firms with little environmental cleanup experience, and proposals for millions of dollars in unneeded work. The impact is really bad because it's just basically ruining a large portion of Kenya, and that's not fun. So, in the more than quarter century since Shell plc left Ogoniland in southern Nigeria, oil has continued to ooze from dormant wellheads and active pipelines, leaving the 386 square mile kingdom's wetlands shimmering with a greasy rainbow sheen. Its once lush mangroves coated in crude well water smelling of benzene, and farmlands charred and barren. Beautiful writing by Neil Munshi and William Klaus. And so I would like to say, make sure that you actually deal with the real cleanup, what's involved, that you don't just use a blank check. We have a similar problem in Colorado where the government has to pay for open wells that oil companies leave behind rather than forcing the oil companies to pay for them. And so they've convinced a bunch of the people whose wells are on their farms that the oil companies shouldn't have to pay for this. And once again, we have a bunch of people who would rather back corporations than the environment. So let's go on to our crappy guy of the day. He is a person that at first seems not as crappy as he actually is. Fun times. So his name is Mathias Dopfner. He's the CEO and 22% owner of media group Axel Springer SE and president of the Federal Association of Digital Publishers and Newspaper Publishers. He studied musicology, German literature, and theater science in Frankfurt and Boston. That sounds cool. Like, oh, maybe he's not a terrible human being. Oh, but you would be wrong. You would be sad and wrong. He is a terrible human being. He's 59 years old. I always want to say where he is in the world and age. I just think it sometimes brings context to how he interacts with other people and all that other stuff. So he began his career in 1982 as the music critic of a supplement, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, and after working as the FAZ correspondent in Brussels, he moved to Gruner plus Jar in 1992. He was initially employed by board member Axel Gans in Paris and then became an assistant to a CEO. And then in April 1994, he became editor-in-chief of a Berlin weekly newspaper, and then he took over editor-in-chief of the Hamburg tabloid, The Hamburger, Morgan Post. And then in March 1998, he became editor-in-chief of Axel Springer SE's national daily newspaper. Oh, a little bit about Axel Springer SE. It's a German digital and popular periodical publishing house, which is the largest in Europe, with numerous multimedia news brands such as Bild, Die Wild, and Fox. Bild is a little bit like the New York Post, Fox News. Musicians supposedly think that's what the people think, which is interesting because, of course, it's run by billionaires. Whatever. Back to that. Anyway, so Dopfner became a member of the management board of Axel Springer SE and head of the newspaper division in 2000 and then CEO in 2002. In 2020, Friede Springer. We will get to her. Friede Springer is the main owner of Axel Springer SE Media Conglomerate, and she's the daughter of a gardener. She worked as a nanny at the Springer's family home from 1965 onward, and later became Springer's lover and eventual partner. In 1978, she outlasted all the other wives and became his fifth and last wife. She bought everybody off, and she's friends with Angela Merkel. So she decided to designate Dopfner as her successor. She gifted, sold, and transferred the right to vote for her stake in the business to him. Under the arrangement, she sold a 4.1 stake to Dopfner and gifted 15% more, bringing his direct stake to 22%. She also transferred her voting rights for her remaining 22% into the business. So one thing that I found a news article from Forbes that said that Axel Springer CEO was just given $1.2 billion in stock, and he might be able to sidestep a $500 million tax bill. Just a reminder that even in Germany, people can do funky taxes to avoid a tax bill. Anyway, one major thing that I do want to bring up about Mathias Dopfner is that he's a liar. At least allegedly. Allegedly. All this is alleged. Who knows? Who knows? I steal from Jesus and Mero, but allegedly. Well, let's look at how he likes to lie. So he's married to Ulrike Weiss, the daughter of Ulrich Weiss, a former management board member of Deutsche Bank. So Deutsche Bank is always sketchy. Allegedly. They have 3 sons. One of his sons works as the chief of staff to Peter Thiel, who is who's a conservative libertarian tech billionaire and who's been getting all the mangas out. Who apparently, according to reports, is not giving any money in the general election and might be screwing Mitch McConnell accidentally. I don't think he necessarily picks the best people. Anyway, whatever. He got the guy in Ohio, J.D. Vance, who is all kinds of weird. And then he got somebody in, I think, Arizona, who's just a weird robot guy. I can't remember his name. Sounds terrible. Anyway, let's look at this pattern. Dopfner claims that he's only met him 2 or 3 times. Like, they don't even know each other. Allegedly, they don't know each other. I mean, his son works for him, and they're all fellow billionaires, but who knows? Who knows? Anyway. Oh, yeah, Dopfner, in areas, so we're looking at his parallels. He seems like he could be cool or interesting, and he's a liar. And I think the thing that really comes through is that he's more of a liar than a neat person. It looks like he's good at wheeling and dealing. He was able to appeal to this one lady. Anyway, in 2010, Dopfner was a visiting professor in media at the University of Cambridge. So again, elite university, he was there. So last year, he made a $1 billion purchase of Politico. And the reason why we want to talk about that is Politico has been all about the horse race in American politics for a while now. And this is also part of a series we saw last week of billionaire influencing CNN and HBO Max. And this week, and then we have the $1.6 billion from Barr side into the guy who helped, Leonard Leo, who helped with the Federalist Society, and which is the reason why we've lost our basic human rights to have over like bodily autonomy over our bodies. And want to see how these guys kind of circle the wagons, influence the messaging, all that stuff in different ways. So anyway, why would we be worried about him having this stupid place that is basically calls everything like a horse race, does not consider whether or not the policy is good or bad. It just wants to know who's going to win, which sometimes in small areas, and this is, I think, something that always happens, is like we need people that are businessmen. We need people that want to run things, that want to try to make things efficient. I don't think these guys want to do that. They just want to take the money out for themselves, but we need people that are managers. However, we have overtaken that. And while, in Politico is a prime example, we need to know sometimes what the horse race is, who to give money to, who's in jeopardy. However, that's only a part of it. A larger part should be looking at the policies and the programs and the laws and how they're working and how they're affecting people. That should be a major focus as well. And it's not. It's just left by the wayside. Anyway, so why would we be nervous that this guy has Politico? Well, he emailed his staff, do we all want to get together for an hour in the morning on November 3rd and pray that Donald Trump will again become president of the United States of America? His email, according to this Washington Post article, was inspired by a news article he shared about the government's plans to sue Google for abuse of market dominance in animating issues of his for years. And then he also went on to argue that Donald Trump had made the right moves on 5 of what he deems the 6 most important issues of the last half of the century. Defending free democracies against Russia and China. I don't know how he would get that when this guy's collaborated with Russia. Pushing NATO allies to up their contributions. Giving billionaires tax breaks. Aligning himself with Middle East dictators. And challenging tech monopolies, which is just crazy. And also he didn't address climate change. I don't know how this guy is delusional. So Dopfner totally denied that this happened. This is like a little thing that happens in his life a lot. Then when shown a printout of the text, Dopfner allowed a glimmer of recognition. It's possible, he said, that he may have sent the email as an ironic, provocative statement in the circle of people that hate Donald Trump. Yeah. Because that's exactly the kind of ironic, provocative thing that Dopfner, a garrulous and enthusiastic texter, likes to do. That is me. That could be me. And like further, the way that he concluded the email was, no American administration in the last 50 years has done more. So, yeah. So when he first heard about the email, he said that it was intrinsically false and that it doesn't exist. It has never been sent and has never even been imagined. And then he's shown the printout and he's like, oh, I guess maybe. So he's a liar. I think you'll also see that he cheated on his wife with just a fellow billionaire. So he's got a son from 2016. His poor wife is still with this guy. He had at Build that rag that's a lot like the New York Post. This guy got fired from sexual harassment. And so he said that Dopfner invited me to his house to read me the final report of the original March 2021 investigation, adding that it did not find any proof of it. Whatever. It was also, okay, whatever. He does. So the point is that then Dopfner said that didn't happen. And he said that, so basically Reichelt said, oh, none of this was real. I didn't harass anybody. This is what it was said. And then Dopfner says, Reichelt gave me his word that his behavior had stopped, but it turned out that he repeatedly lied to executives and me. Who knows who's lying? Possibly both of them. Whatever. It's just interesting how many times it sort of comes up. He also professes a fondness for contrarians and loves Elon Musk and the way that he's taking over Twitter. Why does it suck that he's trying to take over Twitter? That Elon Musk is trying to take over Twitter is because before Elon Musk was trying to take over Twitter, there was like the possibility of being able to, instead of just responding to extremists, actually coming in and stopping them ahead of time. So basically making sure that people, starting to look at who was out there. But then because of Elon Musk coming in, and the work couldn't be fully implemented, and in the months since Musk signed the deal, the health research team has all but evaporated, going from 15 staffers to just 2. According to one employee, selling the company to Elon Musk was icing on the cake of a much longer track record of decisions by higher-ups in the company showing safety wasn't prioritized. The chaos of the deal made me realize that I didn't want to work for a private Musk-owned Twitter, but I also didn't want to work for a public not Musk-owned Twitter. So that's his guy, the guy that's against that is totally messed up stopping online extremism. Anyway, this guy kind of sucks and he's depressing. So let's talk about some things that are, well, we'll first talk about something that is depressing, but I think is really important if you're in Colorado. And then we'll talk about something that's on the ballot in November that's actually not depressing. So Colorado teachers earn almost 36% less than other workers with college degrees in Colorado. That's the widest gap in the nation. It's 3 full percentage points worse than the next closest state. And this is coming from the Economic Policy Institute, a union-backed progressive think tank. So, we always have to know that. And there's no state where teachers earn more than other college-educated workers, but they come close in Rhode Island, New Jersey, and Wyoming. That doesn't mean that we're the lowest paid. We earn below the national average. They earn below the national average. In 2021, the average Colorado teacher earned a little more than $60,000, but the median of a Colorado teacher was closer to $45,000 in 2021. So this is making it really hard for us to get people here because it costs money. So please, if there's anything that's on the ballot, support candidates like Stephanie Vigil, who will work to make sure that teachers are paid better, that public school education is funded. Anyway, on to something that's nice that's on the ballot. So this year, California, Maine, Vermont, Massachusetts, and Nevada will offer free meals to all public school students, regardless of their family's income. Connecticut has also funded free meals for part of this year, and Colorado voters, more on that later, will decide in November whether to make school meals free for all. Universal meal legislation has also been introduced in some other states, including Minnesota, Wisconsin, New York, Maryland, and North Carolina. Yay, let's talk about this bill item that will be on the ballot. So it's called Concerning Providing Healthy Meals to Public School Kids. It's a bill to refer a measure to voters. It has the same Democratic sponsors as the stalled Senate bill. And the sponsors, we always want to highlight the sponsors doing good, are state reps Serena Gonzalez Gutierrez of Denver and Daphne Michelson Jeanette of Commerce City, and state senators Rhonda Fields of Aurora and Brittany Peterson of Lakewood. So whoop, whoop, want to shout them out. The people doing the real good work, the systemic work that really helps people, the stuff on the ground, the details, the thing that money can't buy. Money might be a part of it, but it is not all of it. Anyway, by using what's known as community eligibility and using eligibility for programs like Medicaid and food stamps to count children in poverty, rather than relying on families filling out applications for subsidized lunches, which puts all the burden on the family might be embarrassed, they might not have time. Instead, Colorado school districts could get the federal government to cover more meals for more students. And by eliminating certain tax deductions for high-income filers, individuals earning more than $300,000 and couples earning more than $600,000, the proposal would bring in an estimated $100 million a year in new state money to cover the rest of the cost. So, according to the website of the place that is working on this, if you want to get involved, you can always go to this website. Let me move this around because it is not letting me. The link will be in the description. Anyway, the goal is that no child should go hungry because they can't afford a nutritious meal. More than 60,000 kids in Colorado can't afford school meals but don't qualify for free or reduced price education. And then at the same time, we want to also make sure that nutritious ingredients are made in Colorado. The Healthy School Meals for All initiative provides the resources in schools needed to prepare meals from scratch with healthy, nutritious ingredients, and then provide funding for schools to purchase the ingredients from Colorado farmers and ranchers to use in those meals. We know that kids perform better when they're full, and we also just want to make sure that the more than 60,000 kids in Colorado who can afford school meals but don't qualify for free or reduced price meals, and the 2 out of every 5 Colorado families struggling to put food on the table for their children have food. So this is a great policy. Please vote on it in November. Look out for it. Advocate for it. It's awesome. I'm really grateful. And I just hope that we work more on that kind of thing. Okay, I am going to go to a little thing from the Midrash says. It's a Jewish story. It's, it's like a fairy tale. But basically, there once was a man who was very, very poor, and he would always give to everybody around him. And so God saw this, and he was really proud, and he decided to make him very wealthy. Unfortunately, when he became very wealthy, the man stopped giving to all of his neighbors. So a tzaddik, which is like a good holy man, came in and he asked him to look out the window. And when he looked out the window, the man saw his neighbors. And then he asked him to look in the mirror. And he asked, "What do you see?" And he said, "Myself." And the whole point is that the silver in the mirror stopped him from seeing other people. And there's a certain amount of money that makes it so that we stop seeing the other people around us. And let's avoid that. Let's do the work on the ground. Let's volunteer. If you can donate, but donating isn't the whole thing. Knocking doors is a lot. Running for office. All of that stuff, sometimes it involves money and it's important, but you also have to stop underestimating the work that people can do and the knowledge of doing something well that can really take us over the line. So yes, we need money to make sure policies are working, but we also need the people out there doing the work on the ground, learning about everything, making sure that we elect good politicians, and making sure that we do as much as we can to make the world a little bit of a better place. Anyway, I hope you have a fantastic week. I hope you volunteer for somebody. I hope you knock some doors. Elections are right around the corner, especially in Colorado. Stephanie Vigil is a fantastic candidate. Donate to her if you can. Work with her if you can. Do what you can. There's a lot of different ways to get involved in campaigns. Look at them. Look at your skills and talents and offer them up. Look at your skills and knowledge about certain areas and offer them up. All right. Have a great week. Bye-bye.